Hi. So today I wanted to talk about something that's called National Novel Writing Month. So ever since publishing my books, I got invited to like all these different servers and chats online since I'm now like a known author and everything. And one of them, I first got invited to this one in particular one last year that was dedicated to National Novel Writing Month. And at the time, I actually never heard of that. I was unfamiliar, and I mean it's kind of self-explanatory what it is. You try to write a book in a month, um, and thought I never really tried to reach deadlines in that sense. Like I didn't want to like drive myself crazy trying to stress about oh, I need to write this amount of words in a single day. Like I never used outlines. I just kind of the inspiration just kind of naturally flows to me, and I'm lucky in that regard. Very lucky or very blessed in that regard. But yeah, last year I thought I'll give it a try because people always ask me. They say, "Oh, F. Gardner, how do you write novels so fast?" And it's not that I'm even really trying to write them fast. It's that I just get this rush of inspiration, and I care about my work, my books. I want them to be a blast to read, and if you care about something enough, it's like, so think about it. If you're not enjoying something, you'll want to like uh, you could think oh, I'd rather watch a movie or play a video game or listen to music. And yeah, you can still do those things on like your downtime. Like you could take breaks so you're not going to burn yourself out. But if you really like doing it and really care about it, a lot of, at least speaking from my own experience, it's like you're not going to want to do anything. Like you're going to want to work on it as much as you can because you're so passionate about it. And maybe that's just me how my brain works. But it's like if I have something that I'm passionate about, it's like I'm always thinking, oh, I need to finish this. I have unfinished business. I need to complete it, and so you're not getting sloppy in the sense where like you might be feeling fatigued. You're getting tired from it. So if you do it in that manner, and you're enjoying it, and you're passionate about it, then yeah, you'll be dedicated to it, and you can do it in a short amount of time. And so I tried to challenge myself last year doing it this National Novel Writing Month, and I did it in I think I did it in 8 days, and I did it again this year, and I think is one day less. Yeah, 7 days, and so 2 consecutive years. I've now I have the record is maybe it's the world record. I guess it is as far as I'm aware. I don't know for these people from like mostly at least on these chats and everything I got invited to. They were familiar with my books, fans of my work, and yeah, so, and some of them are part of that press I had mentioned before, the Unreal Press. So check those guys out. They're really good. So anyway, yeah, so the past 2 years now, I've held the record for National Novel Writing Month, and I wasn't even really trying to. Um, and I don't mean that like in a cocky, arrogant way or something. Like, it's just that I'm pretty experienced now. I have 13 books, so I've done this so many times before. I never really doubted, oh, why would I've done it so many times before. I knew I could do it. And a lot of there wasn't even those two books from this year and then last year that I did for National Novel Writing Month. So 2 of my 13 books were for National Novel Writing Month, like me trying to just challenge myself. And I wasn't even trying to win or anything. The feeling of accomplishment, that's what you win. That's the important part. And yeah, so the book I had written in the shortest amount of time actually was before that. I have a book, Jigoku, that one. I wrote that in, I believe, 6 days. And yeah, that was before I even heard of National Novel Writing Month. So yeah, for me, a month it's not that it's a certain amount of time that it takes to write a book. It varies. I've heard people say that the first book you write will take you the longest, and yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. The first book I wrote, it's called The Crocodile, and yeah, that took me a couple months to finish, and every subsequent book took me a shorter amount of time. But then when I reached my one of my books, Horror's Call, so I have two new books from this past year, Horror's Call and Call of the Machine Elves. Call of the Machine Elves is the one I had written in 7 days for National Novel Writing Month. And Horror's Call, I spent a year writing it, or maybe a little bit more so revising it. Revising, that takes longer than just writing it. Writing it, that's just the fun part. Revising it takes longer because you need to make sure everything's flowing right and everything seems natural. Like, oh yeah, another writing tip about that. In terms of making sure things sound natural, you want to read things out loud to yourself. So when you first start doing that, you're gonna seem crazy. Like you're gonna feel like, like when I started doing that, I'm thinking to myself, whoa, F. Gardner, this feels like you've gone crazy. You're talking to yourself right now. But you get so used to it that it's like second nature. You don't even notice it. I need to remind myself sometime. I've gotten so used to it that there are times I go out to Starbucks, whatever, getting a cup of coffee, and I get a text or whatever. I take out my phone, I look at it, and it's like I catch myself. I'm starting to read out loud, and I need to catch myself. Whoa, F. Gardner, you don't need to do that now. You're not revising your latest manuscript. This is just a text message. That in public, if you do that, if you just start reading out loud like that, people might think you're crazy or something. So I kind of need to remind myself that from time to time because you get so used to it. It's like you reprogram your brain, which I guess that you are doing that in a way. So in National Novel Writing Month, I did it just to challenge myself. I knew I could do it and everything. Like I said before, why would I doubt it? I have 13 books, and a lot of them I wrote in under a month, not even really trying to. It's just because with the experience, you're going to get more used to it. You remember how it works. Like you'll be able to tell. It's kind of the same reason you don't need an outline. Like you'll be able to tell like when you're at the climax and the various whatever plot beats in terms of your story, your book. So yeah, just take your time. If it takes you a year to write your book, if it takes you a week, a month, it's kind of contingent upon the book. It's just how certain books, it doesn't need to be like how National Novel Writing Month is. The goal is like 50,000 words because generally speaking, like 50,000 words, it's like about 200 pages. So, but a book doesn't need to be 200 pages or 50,000 words. Like, look at the Great Gatsby. That's like, I think, yeah, that's like just barely like 50,000. But then you have like when I was a kid reading Goosebumps books, those were all 20,000, 25,000, maybe at the most words. Those are great. I love those. Or even shorter stories. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. That's a timeless classic. I love that. That's the length that story needed to be. So that's the thing. Something can be really long, or really short. It doesn't affect the quality necessarily. A great story is just the length it needed to be. Call of the Crocodile is the length it needed to be. Just as how each and every one of my titles are the length they each needed to be. Like look at, so for example, Stephen King. He's really skilled at writing really not just scary books, but epic horror books in the sense of so The Shining and It. It's he gets a lot of his books are hundreds of thousands of words. I think that's fairly common for Stephen King. It's just a type of books he writes, and he's the master at that. That's why he's been around for so long. And R.L. Stine, Goosebumps. shorter books, generally speaking, but that's the type of books he writes. I myself, people say, compliment me, and it's always very flattering. Say, "Oh, F. Gardner, you're like the master of horror of your generation, or are the voice of like authors our age and whatever, like independent, like horror fiction, like for a lot of like modern horror novels." And yeah, people like compliment me about that, and yeah, and it's always very flattering, and I thank them, and but like it's because I write the type of books that are right for me, the right length, the right tone, like the type of themes and everything, like type of characters, like those are F. Gardner style stories, whereas like Stephen King, you could read a Stephen King book, it's a Stephen King style story. So that's what makes writers unique in that regard. So if you're doing National Novel Writing Month, don't drive yourself crazy about stressing about the word count and everything. Like I'll hear people do that. They're worried they're not reading their quota for, oh, I wanted to write this many thousand words. There are times I've sat down and I've written in excess of 10,000 words, where I've exceeded that. There's some times where I sit down and I write 500 words. It varies. It's the way inspiration works. So yeah, if you're doing National Novel Writing Month, just keep everything I'm saying in mind and have fun with it. Anyway, take care, guys.